Hello everybody, it's Claire back with another design team project for ScrapFX. So today I'm working in my Square Dilutions journal. I'm going to be using all these goodies from ScrapFX. But first of all, I'm going to start off by adding a thin layer of gesso. I seem to have a bit of a gesso problem at the minute. I'm always adding far too much onto the page than I need. So rather than waste it, I'm just grabbing another journal and sticking some of the excess on some pages in there. Really need to get that sorted. Then I'm going to use some Dina Wakley turquoise paint. This one is nearly finished, so I decided it was time to cut it open and get out as much as I could. So I'm just adding that in 3 areas, and then I'm using a baby wipe and this ScrapFX stencil from ScrapFX, and I'm just removing the paint through the stencil. It leaves a lovely image behind. This ghosting technique is one of my favourites. Then I'm using this circular shawl stencil, also from ScrapFX, and some ocean paint. And then this is a stencil called Puddles by ScrapFX, and I am using marine, but I'm trying to only use a little bit because I didn't want it to make the page too dark. So you notice that I've done like 4 areas of stenciling there. That was mostly because the page didn't feel quite balanced, so that was why I did an even number. So then I'm just using the old lid from a paint bottle and just stamping some nice bright pink onto the page just as a bit of a contrast. This is a number stamp from ScrapFX. These stamps are lovely to use, they're so easy, and they're really easy to kind of mould over your page as well. So I'm using a StazOn ink, and it's in like a bluey green colour, just to add a little bit more stamping onto the page. Then you can see that I've cut out one of Michelle Logan's Luminous Lovelies and just added that onto the left-hand page. And then I'm using this wing stamp. This is wing stamp A, and I'm just stamping out some wings because I wanted the Luminous Lovely to have some wings. Like, why not, really? Because anything goes. So then just cutting them out, and I'm going to position those behind the lady on the page like that. I was using a black archival ink. This is a chipboard element from ScrapFX, and it says, "If the tiara fits." I'm just using some black paint on this just because I wanted it to stand out from the background. You could also use black gesso if you wanted to, and it is quite fiddly to paint it. It's quite fragile, so you just need to be a little bit careful painting it. And then I had used a piece of music paper, and I just added some Dina Wakley penny onto that because I wanted some sort of contrast behind the writing, and I just positioned that on the page, but very quickly felt that I needed more penny, because why not? It's a lovely colour, it's so pretty. So using the Helix circle and angle maker, I'm just drawing a couple more circles, just different sizes, and I'm going to paint those in using the penny as well. Once it's dry, I'm going to cut them out, and then they will be glued in place on the page. You see I'm just using an ordinary glue stick just to glue these things onto my page. I do quite often audition things just before I stick them down, just to make sure that the page does feel balanced and I'm happy with where things are going to go. Then I'm just using this scrap of paper that I've got left over just to make a little tiara for the Luminous Lovely. She can't not wear a tiara when that's what the quote says, so I'm just kind of roughly cutting one out, and then I paint that in the penny as well. So then this is a deco gilding paste, and I've put it on the little tiara on the chipboard element and just on part of the circles, and a little bit on the tiara that's on the Luminous Lovely's head as well. I'm giving that a quick dry, and then I'm using this foil from Pebeo. It went on okay, but I actually discovered that if you burnish it using something, I used a bone folder, eventually it actually goes on much better. I could have saved myself a lot of time. You can see now it's starting to stick much better to the gilding paste that was on the page. You know, this is a learning curve for us all, so it worked much better. And then I'm just adding that bit onto the little chipboard quote and onto her tiara as well. And then I'm just sticking that in place using a white PVA glue. It will dry clear, so I wasn't too worried about the bits of glue that were showing at the sides. And I'm using just an ordinary black pen just to outline the tiara on her head. And then this is a Dina Wakley star stencil. I decided I wanted something else on the page as well, so I was using through the stencil to draw these stars and thought, I'll do a bit of a pattern on them. So that was what I started off doing. So I'm just using the ordinary black, like a black writing pen really, and then going round in the Posca pen and adding a little bit of doodling, just those stripes. But I very quickly decided when I went to do the next set of stars that actually I was going to colour the stars in completely black, and that worked really well. So you'll notice that I do go back and colour those the first ones in as well. Sometimes you just get a feel for what's working and what's not, and I did prefer the look of the stars in black. So there we go, I'm just filling in those first stars. I think I do feel that they look better in black than with the little bit of pattern on. So then once they're dry, I'm then using a bronze gel pen and I'm just outlining the stars and adding some little dots, a bit of mark making onto them. You can see that I've turned the book upside down. That's just so that I'm not being clumsy and smudging what I've just done. Usually by the time I've finished doing some art journaling, the sides of my hands are covered in paint. But, you know, happy hands, that's fine. Then just a bit more mark making using some Posca pens, just doing some more dots on the page. And then finally, just to finish, I just added a little bit of text stamping using a black archival ink. So here it is, here's the finished page. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video.